you as a technician mindset, right, in the industry, learning the thing, doing the do, and then teaching is a whole different world, right? On the exterior cleaning side, like somebody who has a business, right? We're looking for somebody that's wanting to grow, that, has a good client base that's probably been in the business for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, that we can really help on growing, putting systems in place and getting to where they want to go. See, the proof is in the pudding. But you can look at the numbers and the trajectory. We're doing some things that is pretty impressive in our industry. So, yeah.
All right. Trevor Steele, Through the Noise podcast. Man, I'm excited about this one. You guys know Pat Clark. Pat, what up?
What's going on, Trevor?
Devin Schaefers, super excited to learn more about you and what you do and what your company does. Welcome to the podcast. So we got a big discussion because I'm super interested in this entire concept of national brands moving into our space. We're seeing it across the globe, and it's obviously happened to you, Pat. It's a super success story. We're all super proud of you and what you've been able to pull off. So I guess let's jump into that. For those of you that don't know Pat because you live under a rock, tell us a little bit about yourself, Pat, and we'll jump into that.
Yeah, man. So kind of serial entrepreneur. I started out 20 years old. I remember back in the day, dude, 1995 Astro van, sleeping in the back of it. Put a mattress in there, went to a 2-day event that changed my life, really, right? Like learned about roof cleaning, non-pressure roof cleaning. And back in the day, it was a full contact sport. Just, really dove into the industry at a young age, had a kid on the way, had to put food on the table, right? And it was just hustle. I didn't know much about business at that time, but I knew I could make a customer happy, and I knew I was a hard worker. And so really just dove into the whole industry, started growing the company. People remember, where I came from, and I started speaking at events, and it was really neat because I really found my true passion was giving back, right, to the industry, speaking on that and helping a lot of people along the way, talking to my past self. And so that was really good because like you as a technician mindset, right, in the industry, learning the thing, doing the do, and then teaching is a whole different world, right? And we're going to talk about later, but becoming like the expert in your industry and really diving in, start teaching. And it molded me, right? I was always quiet. I was shy, right? Like barely made it through high school. And who am I, right, to be up here teaching this industry? And I really just fell in love with it and dove in. And, I know this industry like the back of my hand. And so growing Precision Pro Wash, right? We went to 10 locations in 9 different states and helped a lot of people. I had a bunch of people reaching out, right? Like, what are you doing? Hey, how can we work together? And actually Stephanie with Raindrop Gutter Guard was like, hey, you've been promoting Raindrop. And so I was doing that throughout the industry. And she was one of the CEOs for Larry Janeski's company, which tied into Contractor Nation. And Larry reached out to me and I was like, who's Larry? So I ended up calling him and I went up there to Connecticut, actually, to Contractor Nation. And he's been doing it for 35 years at, contractor himself, pouring into his industry, which is basement systems, dry zone, a lot of things that he's been doing. He actually is the inventor of Clean Space. He wished he patented the name in 2020, but it was cool because I was doing that when I first started. I was doing mold remediation, putting in Clean Space in crawl spaces. And so we were always connected is what I always say. And so brothers from a different mother, he races, I race. So we really just kind of meshed when I went up there and we were like, look, we want to take precision to the moon. And that's what I always wanted to do. But some of my contracts and not to mention Precision Pro Wash, we trademarked the name, but what happened was there's other precision power washes and all these other things. And I would have had to send a lot of cease and desist letters. And it didn't feel right. Right. And we were like, you know what? We got holiday lights now. We're going to rebrand and do a relaunch because the logo is 20 something years old. Right. Like it was time for a rebrand and no better time to do it. Right. And so we went to the drawing board and our COO, Austin Piscini, actually came up with the Bright Brothers name. And we were like, this is it. This is it. We're going for it. And we clean it. Right. Larry came up with that because we got to be different. You got to really have that niche in the market. And so our branding was really on point. We were super excited. Went to the drawing board and put in the work, man. We converted systems. We put Larry's systems in, and we have a lot to talk about as far as Contractor Nation goes, the School of Entrepreneurship, just so much there. So I'm just blessed to be here, be a part of the journey, right? And bring a lot of people with me as we grow this thing. So yeah, it's been a blast.
Yes, super exciting. I mean, we've been friends for a long time now, and we've talked about somebody eventually getting picked up, scooped up, and we all knew it was going to be Pat Clark, right? Who wouldn't want Pat? He's an incredible teacher and great trainer, so he's like the perfect choice.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Devin, tell me a little bit about yourself. You're the VP of Franchise Development, which is a mouthful. I have no idea what you do, but I think I have maybe a general idea.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk through it. And the fact that Pat said that he was quiet and shy, I think is a bold-faced lie. So maybe folks from back home can attest to that. So no, man, I have a long, crazy background, kind of like Pat, serial entrepreneur. And he's a controversial figure now, but he wasn't at the time. I got like really into like Elon Musk and following him and stuff. So that was like my college days, and business management with an emphasis in entrepreneurship was kind of how it was going. And I'd always just kind of like, I've never been a W-2 employee before. So starting out after college, I started just a trailer restoration business. I just saw a bunch of, I live in Michigan right now. So I just, saw a bunch of rusty trailers and bad wheels and, ugly boards and stuff. So I'm like, I can throw some screws in the boards and I can replace tires and whatever, and grabbed a couple buddies and started posting ads. And, we had a trailer restoration business. So did that for a while. It was great. And I worked for a guy when I was in college doing restaurant equipment sales, as odd as that sounds. So like, it was a weird connection. It was my girlfriend at the time's uncle, and he owned this giant warehouse with just a bunch of stuff in it, a bunch of restaurant equipment. So I was just going through and I was just basically trying to flip restaurant equipment. So he went out of business when I was just finishing up college. I started that trailer restoration thing. And then I started my own restaurant equipment business. So, essentially we did the same thing. We'd source, stuff from auctions and liquidations and all of that stuff. We did that for 2-3 years, and we were doing really well, but it was about as fun as it sounded. So, we were dealing with folks that were not exactly the most fun folks to work with, people trying to bottom dollar you for already kind of roughed up equipment. And so we liquidated. I learned a million things. We built an inventory management system from the ground up. It was just like, if we didn't move, we didn't make any money, and I loved it. I was like, you also spin the wheels and you don't go anywhere. So, learned how to create traction and obviously work together as a team, like a lot of different things. I played college baseball as well, gave lessons and stuff when I was in college. And then essentially when I was done with the restaurant equipment thing, I'm like, what do I want to do, man? So went to the guy that I gave lessons to, and I was like, you should pay me, when I thought this was $1 gazillion, I was like, you should pay me $60,000 a year, and here's why. I wrote him up a business plan. I was like, let me manage this thing. I can grow your business, whatever. And then he was like, well, why don't I sell you my business? I just liquidated my business. I'm like 25. I can't afford what you're asking. And we structured a deal, and I ended up buying his business like 2 months later. So I own a baseball training facility now. We do tournaments, we do camps, we got travel ball teams. We do a ton. I've also coached college baseball for the last 10 years also. So kind of serial entrepreneur mixed with coach, kind of ties right into my given role. The whole VP of franchise development thing is with Brand One has been, honestly a dream come true. My uncle got me into the industry. I always say I don't deserve it, but when I see a good opportunity, I sprint head on at it. And we're living comfortable with where we're at right now, but the opportunity to work with folks and teach them about franchises, and honestly take folks that are looking to do what I've done, with the business stuff. Like, it's really cool to be on the other side of it. And I've never been on the other side of it. I've always been the hustle grind, build something. And now I can be on the other side, kind of coaching people up from all of the mistakes that I've made. And also like awesome guardrails that are put up by great brands like Bright Brothers with the help of Contractor Nation and stuff like that. So essentially what I do is I work with folks that are interested in looking at different franchises, and we do the development services for them. So in Brand One, I could sit here and talk about Brand One all day long. They are monsters in the space, absolute monsters in the space. I always say I feel very lucky to be a part of them and everything like that. It's just a bunch of highly motivated, very talented people that absolutely grind. And it's been awesome to be around that atmosphere.
You essentially help businesses get to that point of franchising, or do you help franchises that have already started?
Well, it's both, really. I mean, like, there's people that are interested in doing that, and there's also folks that have already started franchising on their own. Essentially, like, the way that it works is that businesses, once they want to quote unquote franchise, you can do that stuff in-house. So you would have like an in-house developer who would field the calls and walk them through whatever standard operating procedures or processes that they may have. They kind of walk them through the process and train them and educate them as to what what the business is. And then if they want to move forward, then great. They move forward. And essentially what we do is we do those services for companies, if that makes sense. So what we do is we expedite the growth of companies. And that's really the main goal that we have is partner with awesome companies. Like we've gone back to Contractor Nation now. I think this is our third time going back to Contractor Nation. And like I said, Brand One can be pretty darn picky as to who we work with. We're with a rock star, Pat Clark. So yeah, we can be pretty darn picky as to who we work with, and we just accelerate the growth of brands. And we also take that off of the brand's plate at the same time too, because there's a lot of resources that go into what we do. I mean, this is a full-time, we have several folks developing on one given franchise. And we accelerate the growth that way, where we just like hone in, we become experts in the business. We know all the numbers and how to get people in touch with the right people for funding or whatever, SBA loans or whatever, just kind of help them through the process. And then essentially what we do is they're vetting us, of course, they're vetting the brand, they're vetting me. They're vetting everything, but at the whole time I'm vetting them. It's kind of a mutual thing there. It's like, hey man, this isn't, there's been a couple times where I'm like, there's something that's going to be a great fit for you, I just don't think this is, kind of aligns with what the brand is looking for. And because at the end of the day, it's my butt if I present somebody to the brand and they're like, why? This dude's unprepared. He doesn't know anything about the business. He's not qualified, whether that's financially or just as a human being, right? So we kind of go through that whole process and we present great candidates to brands that are ready to execute pretty much. They understand the model extremely well and they're ready to execute the model and take the next step forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot to unpack right there alone. I'm not even sure which direction to go at this point, except to say that our industry specifically, obviously pressure washing and window cleaning, gutter cleaning, these industries I feel like have not been impacted yet by national brands. I mean, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, these guys have been hammered by national brands and private equity money. And so that they're all, I can think of half a dozen $100 million HVAC companies off the top of my head. Did I say $500,000? $100 million HVAC companies. You just don't see very many large pressure washing or gutter cleaning or, window cleaning seems to have a niche there. I think it's probably because it's more scalable. And what do you think about that, Devin?
Really, franchising loves fractionalized industries, right? So when you can take the mom and pop and you can add professionalism, you can add really good folks like Pat who can come in and train you and teach you, years and years and decades of experience worth of things in a very short, impactful amount of time. And then they start to lean this way, but they hit right back into the lane. But the cool thing is the whole time that the guardrails are up, there's also the freedom to be your own business owner. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, really, with all that stuff. Yeah. And there's a lot of, when you see a lot of these like little weird niche fractionalized industry, mom and pop, whatever, and no disrespect to this industry, there's a bunch of people who do it at a very high level, very scaled out and everything like that. But really national players that do everything that we do with the backing that we have in Bright Brothers, like there's never been anything in franchising like it. And then, when that's the case, you can explode. You can absolutely put a bunch of stars all over the country and honestly make people's financial dreams come true.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see the benefit. I mean, you're like you said, you take somebody like Pat or myself who's been doing it for so long, and we could answer just about any question there is in this industry, right? Where we understand it on a molecular level, and then we take what you bring to the table, and then what Contractor Nation or another multifaceted brand building organization can do. And I can't imagine, honestly, it's like a dream come true. I'm sure Pat is just like waking up going, wait, is this real? Is this real? But yeah, I think it would be incredibly fun, and I'm happy for you, Pat. But I guess, how about Pat, give us some of the downfalls of it. Are you allowed? Can you do that? Is it too early in your relationship to tell us kind of the ugly side of?
No. It's to be honest, with the backing Contractor Nation, like all the things are there, right? So like the ugly part of it is adjusting to a larger company, but that's not even bad. Right? Like it's awesome because when you get plugged into something like that, you're in your zone of genius. And so it's been amazing where Contractor Nation, they have the team, right? They have the departments where you can go in. So I think it's scary for a lot of people, right? When you get into something like this, but it's not. Like when I was franchising, I was like, ooh, this is going to be a little different, right? There's a little bit more red tape and there's things, legalities and stuff like that. But, you know, brand one does an amazing job, right? As far as walking you through those things. And when you're looking at an FDD or an item 19 with all your financials and stuff, right? For us, we couldn't use our previous numbers, right? And we're going to go over that, but you couldn't use our previous numbers.
I was going to say, most of my listeners don't know what an FDD is. I just found out about a year ago. So let's explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So I'll let Devin explain the FDD.
Sure.
Good answer.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen a gazillion of them now at this point, but essentially what it stands for is a financial disclosure document, right? So that's the FDD. So essentially it's what the brand, in this case, Bright Brothers, of course, would present to you. They're updated every single year so that the numbers are fresh. With some brands, there's no so let me backtrack. So there's items number 1 through number 23 on there. Okay. And it's essentially will be business experience, has the company been bankruptcy or any litigation in the company. So it basically just says like ripping the clothes off, like here we are. Is what an FDD is. So, I spend with every single client, an hour, and we sit there and we go through this doc. I don't read it to them front to back by any means, but I'm like, look, listen, man, if I open this thing up and I look at it, like this is straight where I'd go. I go to the business experience, like who's running this thing? What the heck is this thing? And that's right up front. It tells you all of the costs associated, your initial investment, some other fees that you might incur, your royalties and all of those different sorts of things. Brand fund contributions, if there's marketing fees or whatever, all that stuff is in there. So that tells you exactly where every single dollar is going to go, why it's going to go there, who it's going to go to. And that's very, very, very important in the discovery process and the investigation process for the folks that I work with. So I spend a lot of time going through this stuff because, the last thing in the world you want to do is be like, hey, here's your final documents. Congratulations, you're about to sign with, in this case, Bright Brothers. And you're like, wait, what the heck? There's this fee and this fee? Like, what? I didn't know that. Like, heck no. We get all that stuff. We put it right in front of you. We highlight it. I spend time. I say, do you understand this? Do you understand what this means? And we go through all of those different sorts of things. Very, very, very important for franchising. And it's essentially like all the legalities that are tied into it. So it goes in, what is the brand contractually obligated to provide to you, right? So what sort of assistance are they going to have with your ramp up, with your training? What's the territory size? Because franchising is divided into territories, right? Number of population, population density, or number of businesses maybe, or, household income is another one. How many qualified households are in this particular territory, So a lot of times it's divided depending on the franchise, what it might, if it's like just strictly B2B, then, the number of businesses is going to be a really big deal. If you're looking at something like Bright Brothers, like, the household income, which is, because we're going to be exterior cleaning and we're going to be doing holiday lighting, the household income is going to be really important. So we make sure we put that right up front, and we have a bunch of qualified households in your territory so that you can step in and be effective right away. People that can contract your services regularly, and that's our goal. So that, whether it's Bright Brothers, whether it's Meineke, Mako, McDonald's, every single franchise has an FDD 1 through 23, and then it goes into the fun stuff, right? So item 19, which everybody wants to sprint right to before they look at anything else, is going to be the financial performance of the brand. So what did they do the last year? Some brands do a better job than others as far as breaking down, the differences in the item 19. Hey, so we have however many different services. Some companies will have a bunch of different services, but they'll just say, hey, here's my top line, here's my bottom line, and away they go. But, like Bright Brothers does a really nice job. They break it down as far as all of the different services that they offer. What are the KPIs on all of those? And jump right into all of that stuff from there. So it's great, man. I mean, it's a really important document, and I'm glad that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, mandates that you have those. Those are up to date. Otherwise, it would just it'd be the Wild West. Anything could happen, and this really gives legitimacy to the industry that we're in, which is great, tremendous.
Sure.
And our new one just came out, Trevor.
You told me about it.
Yeah,
strong.
Yeah, I don't know if Devin, can you share the new item 19?
I don't know. I shot a text out. Let's see if we get that text back. We can be candid with the numbers. I don't see why we couldn't. The only thing that I feel like we could run into, I'm not sure. I'll wait for that text to come back. But what we can say is, if you decide to go through Bright Brothers, I don't think so, because this could go to states we're not registered in, I would imagine. So, we're registered in X amount of states. Like, we're not registered in like Hawaii and Alaska or whatever. But if there's some Hawaiians and Alaskans watching, I think you run into some issues with legality. So I'd rather probably not. But What we can say is if you're interested in Bright Brothers, you want to hop in, you want to see the numbers, and you want to go through the process, you're in a registered state, happy to show you these, and we are very excited to show them to you. Trust me.
Yeah.
Very excited to show them. No, and all credit to our franchisees who have come in and done a tremendous job in year one, kind of being these guinea pigs for the brand. I mean, it's tough going when you're 1, 2, 3 franchisees in, and they're really just the ones that are breaking through for everybody else. But the good thing is with Bright Brothers, then we'll hit Contractor Nation really hard. We've already kind of alluded to it a little bit. It's a mature brand that just got going, if that makes sense, just because of all the backing that they have. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, and either one of you can jump in here. What do you say to a business owner who's established, profitable, not quite scaled, right? Because scaling is extremely tough without backing. I know Pat can attest to that. Without the strong backing of a national brand or Brand One or Contractor Nation, it's tough to scale in this industry unless you're got a bunch of money in the bank. And obviously, you wouldn't be in this industry if you did. So, what would you say to the business owner who's considering moving into a franchise or looking at maybe possibly selling out to a national brand? What's the sales pitch, if you will? Does that make sense?
Talking to me or Pat?
Either one.
So you're saying if somebody wants to come in and kind of sell to a national brand,
let's say Bright Brothers absorbed somebody.
Sure.
I assume you're in the acquisition phase, right? You're acquiring.
Sure. We definitely have that option and a huge incentive in order to do that, and a tiered system also in order to do that as well. So if I'm working with somebody right now who has a pre-existing business, and we've kind of walked them through the process, and the beautiful thing is they can come in. There's a long period of time that the brand allots them to kind of slowly transition their equipment over to the brand's stuff. So it's not like, hey, sign on, spend a ton of money, even though you have all the stuff to basically execute what we have. So there's a transition period that goes into place. You also get highly discounted rates on flipping to the franchise. So it really incentivizes you to do that. And the person I'm talking to right now, it's kind of a dream situation for this individual, because when I talk to, I can barely get him on. Not that he's not interested. Every time that he's on, he's like super engaged, really excited to be on. But the thing is, he's like, oh, I didn't even really know this. Like my schedule kind of got all messed up and whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I'm the only one doing this right now and all of that stuff, right? Fractionalized industry, welcome to it, right? A little bit of the mom and pop aspect of that. And it's just like, I can't tell you how much structure will help you, how much a full-blown system in place to be able to hire, to train, to send them up to Contractor Nation, to have Pat come down and beat the pavement with you. I mean, just the support that you're going to have behind you is going to allow you to scale tenfold. Not to mention, cliffhanger with Contractor Nation. But we can start diving in a little bit. Like Treehouse Marketing for Contractor Nation is. If it was just like a little tiny space in Treehouse Marketing as our partner, we would still be amazing. Not to mention all the other stuff they have. But Treehouse Marketing, it's like almost 150 people that work on the client's behalf. And all they've done is market in home services. Their entire existence has only been marketing home service for 600 plus dealers for decades. So, as far as how to get in with Google, how to know the new algorithms that start to come out that everybody has to dance around, and nobody knows how to speak that language. It's really difficult for people it creates the situation for that. So yeah, the longest way of answering your question is if you're looking to get acquired, Bright Brothers absolutely does that and gives you huge discounts in order to do that.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, Trevor, in the space, because we've been doing it. We're doing it right now. We're going to be sending out an email to past clients and customers and stuff. We have a whole transition that is smooth, that makes it easy, and then again, national call center. So I'm not trying to just be a sales pitch here, So it's like you're saying, if it's somebody in the space and they're like, I'm kind of stuck, I'm plateaued, what do I do from here? The beauty is a national brand's coming in, giving you the support. You're not doing it alone, and we're training you. We're putting in and plugging in the systems right away so that later on you can achieve your dream, right? Spend more time with your family, or button this thing up to sell it later on. That's the ultimate thing, is what do you want to do as a person? What is the dream of starting this thing? And then not necessarily a handheld, but an arm up, right? is like when you have Contractor Nation backing with the School of Entrepreneurship, which is literally a 2.5-year college course for an entrepreneur. This is everything you can think of. We have a management track. We have Carving the Diamond, which is pulling a healthy profit out of your business. And it's all there at your fingertips where you can log on. Then we have an LMS called CN Learn that has videos, like tabletop videos of everything in our industry of like how to overcome these things that you run into, that you can train your team, your technicians, your admin, you name it. Like it's for that. So it's just something like, you know, we've been building over these years, and now having a national brand, if you will, bring it to fruition, right? Is like, it's pretty cool.
So what do you do if you see a market you want to be in and you find a company you love to acquire or bring in, and the guy says, yeah, I'd sell it to you, but I don't want to be involved. I want out.
So it can go a couple different ways, right? So Devin has a broker network where we can find somebody that's looking to start a franchise in that area. So that's one option. If we do have somebody that's like, I don't want to come on and we want to buy it like outright, but we don't have a manager, we'd probably work a way. And Devin, you can jump in, but we would find somebody like a franchisee that would take that, buy it, and then run it.
Yeah, and honestly, like if somebody doesn't, water's going to take the path of least resistance, right? So if I have to jump through 30 hoops in order to work with this individual and do whatever, it doesn't make any sense. And if I know that somebody's in an industry like, get me out of here, get me out of here, get me out of here, I'm like, great. You know, I have a franchisee that can start absolutely fresh, and I have an old lion that's ready to kind of roll over kind of thing. Sweet. There's a lot of stuff up for grabs there. If somebody comes in, they're really actively working with us, they really want to work together, you know, and they're realistic with what they can get. You know, it's something that we'd entertain. But as far as like making a business model out of it, I'd say that's probably pretty rare in terms of what we're looking to do. But you know, if it makes sense, like I said, water's going to take the path of least resistance, right?
So you're more likely to sell a territory to somebody that's a prospect, I would assume, than acquire, most likely.
Yeah, that would definitely be more of what we'd be looking to do for sure.
And that's what
it would more be like the willingness. Like, so, you know, we can get all hypothetical with it. Like, if this individual wanted to sell, but they wanted to be a part of Bright Brothers, essentially they could do whatever with whoever, and then whoever takes over that's excited about it, that wants to partner with Bright Brothers, let's rock a conversion. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So that would be a situation that would easily be feasible. But again, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, it seems like it's whatever. There's a lot of moving parts to that stuff. People get squirrely, you know, a lot of different things can happen in those different sorts of times, different sorts of things. So like I said, for what we do, there is a lot of people that would benefit and love to be a part of Bright Brothers. So, you know, for us to go try to tackle and chase down everybody that wants to sell and then add 10 more steps to the process, it's not worth our time, to be frank. You know what I mean? So we want to work with people who are excited about Bright Brothers, who understand the model, who are looking to run through a brick wall with us and do those different sorts of things. And if you happen to own a franchise or you want to buy one or whatever, you know, we'll work with you. Trust me, we'll work harder than anybody else. But yeah, it's got to make sense for everybody, for sure. Unique situations. I mean, we could get hypothetical for the next 10 hours.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I think Pat can kind of back me up on this. It's such a mom and pop industry still that, you know, there's a lot of egos and a lot of pride and a lot of inflated numbers and lies, if you will. So a lot of bragging and just anytime you have the ego involved, you know, I think I heard Pat say something on a video that said, you know, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. Well, when you own a pressure washing company, you usually are the smartest guy in your world, right? Because it's a very small, and so you get stuck in this kind of wagon wheel of torture. And so I think you guys, I know you're going to be extremely successful at this, because it's an easy conversation when you break through that barrier and say, okay, let's get real. I know, especially with current business owners, let's get real. I know this is tough. I know you've been trying to scale. I can tell you honestly, I've been trying to scale for 23 years. It's, you know, so it is a very difficult thing to do. So anytime you could have the backing of a group of guys like you have, and I guess, what was the company, the marketing company, something Treehouse. That's part of Contractor Nation, right? So 150 plus marketers that are in-house. It's
called Treehouse Marketing because in their 500,000 square foot facility, they have their I mean, there's layers to this, brother. So the 150 people it's called treehouse because they're literally working out of a treehouse. Like a bunch of people, there's leaves, there's trees. They're working out of a treehouse that they built because they're contractors. It's crazy, and it's right next to an old mining town that they built just for fun.
Yep.
It's
Boomtown.
Craziest thing you've ever seen, and that's why, like, we've left you on this cliffhanger the whole time. Like, I don't know if you could splice in some Contractor Nation stuff in any of these videos or send a link or whatever. It's the coolest thing in franchise. It's just so uniquely Contractor Nation, and it's all built by hand by these folks, and they R&D all of their product. You talk about people skittish about American made, this and that. We got, we don't need to go there or anything like that. This stuff is literally freaking made in-house, like right there in that huge facility. They ship it out right to our folks. It's a special place, man.
Very cool. Yeah, I'd love to tour that place one day. Maybe.
Yeah, we'd love to have you out, man. And full-blown music and movie studio in there that they shoot all their own content with. Raindrops come down from the ceiling when leads come in. They almost do 1 million leads a year over there with Treehouse and stuff like that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can see it all on the TV too, and that they drop in real time right on the TV.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah.
So tell me, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on Larry, but he seems young. I mean, that's an incredible story. I'd love to meet him one day too, but anyway.
Yeah. He's got a TV show on, if you go on YouTube and you go Into the Dust 1, 2, and it like goes up to 5. He just completed 5. So if you look up on YouTube, Into the Dust, Larry Janeski, he's actually won. Him and his son completed the Baja 1000 on a dirt bike. Yeah, dude. He's cut from a different cloth. That's for sure.
Yeah, I see that. Let's get into some of the, I mean, I know acquisitions we've established is not a major part of what you do, but either way, I think you could speak on some of the metrics that maybe you target. But specifically, I want to give our audience, I guess, a target and a goal to work towards. So specific metrics, KPIs, some of the non-tangible things that you might say you would be looking for in franchisees. I don't know, either one of you can jump on that.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're talking about qualifying candidates, right, and kind of going through the qualifying process, there's like minimum net worth amounts that we have, and it's nothing crazy. I think it's 200 or 250,000. I can't remember right now, but there's small things like that that'll, we need to make sure that, hey, you're coming into this thing. We're not trying to take anybody to zero. We don't want to have everybody put, every single egg in this basket and then have nothing left. You need to have a little bit of a cushion there just because it's the right way to do. So there's definitely that aspect to it. An ideal candidate for us, has nothing to do with, having experience in the power washing world or soft washing world or holiday lighting world or blue collar world for that matter. It's folks that are willing to come in and be effective and look to jump into a system, be coachable, and also understand what their strengths and their weaknesses are. Right. So I think all three of us are pretty darn good at just chopping it up, talking to people. Maybe you have a good sales or marketing background. We can run with that. Absolutely run with that. Say that you're an engineer and you are scared of anything with that can talk to you, which is the case. I work with a lot of people like that, and they're the best executors, man. They just are like, they're so precision oriented. They can chop it up. They can make sense out of things. Then they can go and they can execute. Now, are they going to go upsell 30 things? Probably not, unless you have the backing that we have, which is just going through the process and understanding the sales process. And you're just like, oh, okay, there's a process here. I need to ask this question. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And then now I've completed this step and away you go. And that's just with that and everywhere in between that, every kind of background there.
And then I would say too, Trevor, like on the exterior cleaning side, like somebody who has a business, right? We're looking for somebody that's wanting to grow, that, has a good client base that's probably been in the business for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years, that we can really help on growing, putting systems in place and getting to where they want to go. You need to know a couple things. Like you got to be tracking your numbers. You have to have a firm ground base, I would say, but we can easily plug you into Bright Brothers and give you all those things because we have the KPIs, we have the sales system, we have an 8-step process with a closing trail, right? Like we have all the things that can take you from 0 to hero pretty quick.
So I guess you're trying to say that maybe the metrics aren't quite as important as long as you have a solid reputation and experience, and maybe even a network of clients.
Yeah, because the more customers you have, the more we give discounts for, which is cool. So there's ways to get in there into Bright Brothers, right, at a significant discount depending on where your business is. So, if you got somebody that's at a $600,000 company, you're going to get in a lot better than, say, a $200,000 company. So you definitely want to get to where you can, where you're, if you will, capping out, and then you're going to get a better discount to get in.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I guess I never realized that was kind of
you as a technician mindset, right, in the industry, learning the thing, doing the do, and then teaching is a whole different world, right?
Brothers, right? I mean, like that's really what we're interested in. And if somebody like yourself, Trevor, worked really hard and made, we'll just use Pat's number, $600,000 a year, as you come in and do that, like you should get the benefit. You work your tail off. It's not like those clients are going anywhere. You're just going to be converting them over. So you're going to get a huge financial discount because of that, right? But if Joe Schmo has a mop bucket in his back and calls himself a washing company and goes out and executes that, he makes, I don't know, $75,000 a year. Like he shouldn't get the same benefit that dude that built a great business should get. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So that they have it clear as day, plain riding as far as the tiered system and what kind of discounts that you get because of it.
Yeah. What about brands that are not franchises? I know there's not too many of them in our space. Actually, I'm not even sure I can think of any off the top of my head. Crystal Clean, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Like if a franchise wanted to convert to Bright Brothers?
No, I'm saying so you've got a national brand that's not a franchise and they're looking to buy or acquire companies across the country, because that's happening as well. I just don't know, because that's like a completely different business model.
It is.
Yeah, no. Well, there's lots of, like I said, man, the beautiful thing about Bright Brothers is there's models within the model, right? So we have folks that come in with a bunch of players. I have 5 different partners. We brought a ton of money together. We want to buy 15 locations. It's like, oh, sweet. Most folks in my industry, like say somebody came to me and said that to me, they'd be jumping through their seat because they're excited about that. But for me, I'm like, okay, sweet. Like you have money, but like we're looking at taking Bright Brothers to the moon, and are you just going to expect to throw money at this and sit back and say what's happening? No, like I don't care if you have $50 million net worth or you've a conglomerate that produces $50 million. If it's not well executed, if you're not like highly talented people that are going to put GMs in place, and the GMs that you put in place are people that you like, you trust, and that you respect and know can execute, or it's just like, oh yeah, I don't know, like you guys do all that for me. It's like, dude, I'm not interested, man. I'm really not. I'd rather work with people that, I'd rather work with one-offs. I'd rather work with people that barely meet the net worth requirements and they're trying to make something of themselves and they're ready to hustle, they're ready to grind. I'll take 10 of those versus a 25 territory deal with the other folks. You know what I mean? This is a gritty business. You know that, Trevor, Pat, of course, you know this. Like we need to make sure that the people that are coming in are going to, if they're not gritty themselves, they're going to put people, put aces in their places where they can execute. That's for sure.
Yeah. And that's kind of like we're launching 2 in Texas, Austin, Texas, and Houston, Texas. And one model, they have a GM, and the GM is a stud. Like he's awesome. He came to initial training. He's going to crush it. I'm going there actually next week to do that. They already have 2 technicians, GM ready to go. So it's really cool to see that too, is where, it's not just an owner operator. You can have a GM model and then hire the technicians. All the systems are there to train those people so they're not so hands-on, right? They still got to run the meetings. They still got to be present with the GM, but that GM has to be there kind of guiding the ship. And so we do have a couple different models for that. But yeah, it's exciting because again, years of experience where we've built that, or we have that system where you can train up a lead tech in 2 weeks, right? Because of the regiment. Salesperson, right? We have a 3-week training schedule that's all in there, and they just follow that schedule, watch the see and learn videos, right? And then go out and do hands-on. And then I come out there and train them hands-on. So it's a lot of fun. And it's cool to see somebody like hit the ground and run with it and say, oh, I got this, right? Like a week or 2 later is really phenomenal.
One of the things I think you're poised to attack, first of all, and I think the main reason is even in our small town, when we get called out to go do an estimate or go whatever, we show up at a job site, or even if somebody's just walking by and they see us out in front of our truck, that they see us and immediately, and, Pat's always been this way as well. We're extremely professional in an extremely unprofessional industry. And that took years and years of work to figure that out. And even now we go to some houses and it could be a $1,500 house wash, $2,000 house wash, and they're still impressed, right? When we show up, they've made this decision to invest this kind of money to have their house washed, and we show up and they go, "Oh my gosh, you're so professional." It's like they just didn't expect it,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's the weirdest thing, because if you were a plumbing or an electrical company and you showed up looking anything less than what we look, they'd be like, "Wait a minute," So you guys are you're really on the early edge of this. I think pressure washing is what, like 50, 60 years old. It's not even,
That's why we say it's a 60-year-old technology. We're in 2025. We got some new systems and stuff. But you hit the nail on the head though, Trevor, because we're seeing this wave of people wrapping their trucks, right? And everything's before it was like, okay, you got magnets on the truck and then you got a wrap truck, and you knew that company was a little bit more professional. Well, this day and age, there's a lot more professionalism coming into our industry. And so that's when it's like, okay, well, Google necessarily is good and you plug and play and pay some money, but do you have the foundation, right, to really make a brand in a market? That's the thing where they don't necessarily, right? And that's where that 137 employees in the treehouse, where we can really go in and we have a lot of apps and stuff like that work in their area to build up their model quickly. So it's pretty cool to see that. Whereas like in a professional upcoming industry, you're getting people that are kind of looking alike, and then we're still able to stand out and be top of the list in those markets.
Yeah. So this might be a controversial question, but how long does it take for you to, well, you might, you're still kind of crunching this out, but how long do you think it would take to dominate a market?
Well, who's doing it and how hard are they working and how much are they getting it? It's going to be so dependent on so many different things.
I mean, if Bright Brothers moved into a new market, how long do you think it would take? Because honestly,
like I said, I'm talking about even in Bright Brothers, right? Because if I'm working with the candidate and they are saying all the right things, doing all the right things, showing up on time, coming prepared, great. You passed my test, but guess what, man? You still got to go beat the pavement. You still got to go execute jobs. You still got to do a lot. Lip service is just lip service. Like, how much are you going to implement what we're trying to do? So it's not a plug and play, one size fits all. Also, if you're putting a GM in place, if you're going to be bankrolling a salesman, if you're going to be bankrolling a GM, well, your initial investment is going to be a little bit higher, right? So what's your break-even point, right? It's going to take a little bit longer because you're going to be spending a lot more money on things that you could do, you just don't want to do, or you can't do, or whatever your situation is. It's so dependent. But if you get, the owner-operator that'll hustle, that's gritty, that's going to pound the pavement and whatever, they're going to hit that break-even point or whatever your quote-unquote definition of success is much quicker than somebody who has, nobody cares about your business like you will. So that's why we always say whoever's going to be that A1 GM, if you're going with that model, needs to be somebody that's the dog and somebody that you can count on, and that really cares and that really wants to grow and sees the opportunity and growth. And hopefully you're compensating them extremely well in order to do that based off of the work that they're putting in. But that's all part of the coaching process with me. Like, if somebody says I want a GM model, whatever, I'm not just like, oh, okay, he wants a GM, here you go to Discovery Day at Bright Brothers, go have fun. It's like, okay, who's your GM? Tell me about it. What are they looking to do? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? We'll build this out together or whatever. So as far as on average or whatever, it's going to depend, man. And frankly, we don't have enough data to say one way or another quite yet. We're at 7, 8 franchisees, and the one that's gotten in there the earliest is doing great. He just happens to be an owner operator, but we have folks that are early stages with the GM stuff that are going to do really, Pat just talked about them too. So we're really excited, man. We really, really are. Yeah. And there's lots of models within the model for sure.
Yeah. I always encourage people, Trevor, to go check out, the item 19, because you'll see the proof is in the pudding. But you can look at the numbers and the trajectory. We're doing some things that is pretty impressive in our industry. So yeah.
And would that be, let me see if I get this right. Would you be the GM of that or the owner operator of that location, or you base that 19 off of all of them?
Well, it breaks it down. So, it depends on, we can, have more FDD talk. That's totally fine. You're going to have like the affiliate location, which will be essentially like the main location, right? So the one up and near Contractor Nation, and then you would have it broken down by franchisee or number of franchisees that would kind of go into these two different buckets or whatever. And then there's also buckets where they put them both together, and you can see the numbers side by side, how close do these go together. Like I said, some brands do it better than others as far as giving you data, comparable data between the two. But the great news is you look at the data between the two, the KPIs, the average job, whatever. Again, without getting too much in the weeds here,
Sure.
It's really good stuff.
Understood. Yeah. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm not even sure what to say next. I'm amazed by the backing. I did a little bit of research, obviously, on Contractor Nation to prep for this. And first of all, y'all just need to go look at Contractor Nation. Bright Brothers is doing great things and doing it fast. I'm a little worried about it. We've got a handshake deal where Pat's going to warn me if they start moving my direction. I think this is the future. And here's a question. Do you think franchising is the future of this industry or a home services industry, or do you think it's more like a national brand with lots of locations?
Yeah, I mean, we like to think that this is the future of the industry, period. And everybody's going to be looking at us, this model, our systems and everything, and trying to copy that. And trying to do that on their own. And, as a matter of fact, like you're not, maybe somebody can build a 500 square foot warehouse with the 137 person marketing team and have the distribution like they have. And I don't even say we as they did all the work, man. I just get to talk to people about it. It's awesome. So potentially somebody's going to build that out and structure that. Do I see that happening in the next decade? Probably not. So we're really excited about it. And that's the whole goal, is we come in and legitimize, fractionalized industries. And we look, people want to look at it and say, wow, man, that is special. I want to be a part of that or whatever.
So all I need to do to compete is build a 500,000 square foot building, 150 plus marketing experts, a full studio give me a couple months.
You got this, Trevor.
Yeah.
It's like an easy SBA loan thing. Just talk to a couple finance people. You should be able to lock that up.
Yeah. Hey, Pat, can I borrow 10 grand?
I can't see staffing being an issue either. So just a couple job postings, you should be all good.
That's right.
Yeah. Indeed. Just use Indeed. It'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Truly incredible, man. You guys have a strong backing, and I just can't imagine what that experience would feel like for you, Pat. I'm super pumped for you still. Devin, dude, I don't even know where to start or where to go from here. A lot of stuff to unpack. I just appreciate you being here.
Appreciate you, man. It was a pleasure. Hopefully we can connect again. And this was fun, man. Happy to do this anytime.
Yep.
All right. Let's
we'll have to do it next year, Devin, when we got 30, 40 locations on.
Fire up.
That's it.
That's going to take a whole year?
No.
I'm just kidding. All right, guys. I appreciate you.
You got it, man. Take care, everybody.